What's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Film Ball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
And my name is Dylan. Today we are continuing these above-the-line predictions. Director, screenplay, casting. But before we dive into that, if you're new here, what are you doing? Drop us a subscription. You want to keep up with everything that we have on the horizon. We're going to have our below-the-line predictions before the Fall Film Festival season kicks off. We have the Game of Film Ball kicking off here on the channel as well as over in our Discord community. It may not be too late for you to join quite yet. There's always a few people who no-show a draft, so we can start a little bit of a list of emergency replacements, you could say. It helps this video be showcased to other people. This film ball community continues to grow. We're almost to 3,000 subscribers. Woo, woo, woo. That's cringe. But also drop down a comment. Let us know your thoughts on some of our predictions here today. We're not perfect people. We see the comments. We know you don't like some of our takes sometimes. I love that. I love disagreements. I love going back and forth. Just don't take it too far. Because no one wants to be called derogatory names. I'm not going to call you that. You're not going to call us that. But let us know when we make dumb picks, because how else can we stop making dumb selections? Last thing, Discord community. You want to join that? Link in the description. Film ballers across the globe, as well as our Fantasy Film Ball website. We can see all of the updated community predictions. Like I said, today we're doing director, screenplay, both original and adapted, as well as casting.
Well, I think before we get into the depths of what we're going to be talking about, director, screenplay, casting, let's just talk about some updates in the Best Picture race and just generally what's going on. This is a time of year where things change day to day. It's possible that by the time we put this video out, we're recording on August 11th, there could be new information that completely changes everything. That is how the award season works at this time of the year. Things move fast. Things change fast. And one thing, Dylan, I'm going to admit something that you're going to be really, really happy to hear.
Ooh, let's hear it.
I might have been wrong about Misty Green. I'm giving it more credit than I have given it in the past, because after we made our last video where I was like, give up Misty Green, oh my God, two major things have happened. Rosalind Eleazar won the Performance Award at TIFF, which is not always an indicator. Usually they have one winner of that award who goes on to win an Oscar, and one winner of the award who is just like nothing, hobbles along through the season and just nothing. So the Performance Award at TIFF, not always an indicator, but it's interesting. And you know what else is interesting? Misty Green is the only A24 movie to appear in the New York Film Festival main slate. They did not take the debut. They did not take Club Kid. They did take Misty Green. And the New York Film Festival main slate, it's interesting. It's highly, highly curated. The team that does that, it's not like TIFF. They're not putting together movies that they think audiences will like. It is a team of highly respected, very highbrow film critics who basically put together a list of their favorite movies of the year. That is what the main slate is. And so it's interesting to see Misty Green here, that a highbrow group of New York critics wants to give a spotlight to that film while leaving out Club Kid, the debut. Not as surprised that they left out Club Kid in the debut. I feel like that makes sense. It makes sense that they left out La Bola Negra. It makes sense that they left out Fjord. It is very surprising that Misty Green is on the main slate list. And that is not enough for me to move this film up a crazy amount. It's not enough to change my predictions, because the New York Film Festival main slate has a very different taste profile than what the Oscars typically have. But it's enough to make me look at it and go, there's something there. That's really interesting that a Chris Rock film got picked by the highbrows of film comment and Lincoln Center.
I mean, to go back to what my early thought was with this movie is we saw Top 5 was very well liked. That movie has like an 80-something on Metacritic. So clearly it had its fans back in the day. Chris Rock's someone who
Have you seen Top 5, Dylan?
I have seen Top 5. I really liked it. But I think that Chris Rock is someone, for better or for worse, has had a rather interesting career over the last few years, and I think there could be, a portion of the Academy who's like, hey, we feel bad for you. Let's raise you up a little bit. Let's platform you a little bit. And I think this film, with it talking about Hollywood, with it probably being some sort of satire, and we saw the trailer, and it has a little bit of heart in there as well. Daniel Kaluuya, Rosalind Elizar, like you said. I think there's juice here where something can happen. Now the execution just has to come to fruition, whether that is the PCA number 1, 2, or 3, whether it's just performing really well at TIFF. Clearly, A24 has a lot on their slates, some films that we've already seen, some films that just some people have seen, and some films no one has seen, which they're all going to be at a mix of New York, TIFF, Telluride over these next few months.
So moving on from Misty Green, the next thing I want to talk about is we have the full TIFF lineup now. So it's completely out. The schedule is out as of today. No more movies are being added. Everything is there. Wild Horse 9 shows up as a late addition, as I feel like everyone expected it to, but that's pretty much the only big late addition unless you're a big Werner Herzog fan. Everything else is kind of like small potatoes. Could be really great films, but they're not the buzzy titles. But I want to talk People's Choice Award, because every year except Life of Chuck, this movie gets nominated for Best Picture. And almost every year it wins one Academy Award, usually an above the line Academy Award. The only time that has not happened outside of Life of Chuck, which went nowhere because they dumped it in April. The Fabelmans is the only one in the last 10 years to not win an above the line Academy Award. So what I want to look at now is what films could win the People's Choice Award. And I will say, I just went back, 5 of the last 10 People's Choice Award winners have been TIFF premieres. And 10 out of 10 of them have been fall premieres, meaning either Venice or Telluride. And so I'm going to lean TIFF World Premiere. I'm really looking at Your Mother, Your Mother, Your Mother as the People's Choice Award winner. I feel like that one could be huge. It doesn't look like a crowd pleaser, but it looks like something that is going to really shock people. It looks beautifully made, action-packed, and surprisingly emotional. So it seems like that's the one I'm going to ride with right now. I've seen people say I Play Rocky. I don't buy it. That is Saturday night. I have seen some people throw out, oh my God, what was the, Being Human. No, I don't believe in that. That's Rustin, in my opinion. So right now I'm riding with Your Mother, Your Mother, Your Mother. But I'd love to hear, what are you thinking, Dylan? What can win People's Choice Award?
I mean, it's a difficult question for me because obviously we just got the final additions to TIFF this morning. That includes stuff like Wild Horse 9, which I know a lot of people will probably be gunning for, that PCA victory for McDonough and that film. And I think you make a great point about how Toronto typically picks their own. And sometimes that leads people to make very weird and very crazy and very unintelligent picks for the PCA, like you mentioned, Saturday Night, Rental Family, where there could have been some red flags on the wall ahead of those films premiering. So at the moment, if I had to pick something, I think I might follow more in the footsteps of like last year, where Hamnet did win while premiering somewhere else due to the lack of Toronto premieres, and maybe go with something like Wild Horse 9. That's a little safer. But I mean, if I were to take a swing of the highest placing Toronto film, I kind of want to say Misty Green, but I need to look more into the details of where movies are going to be showing during the festival and who's releasing them too, because I know there's a huge thing in Canada with A24 films where they're given pretty crappy rollouts because of the distributor up there.
Yeah, Elevation Pictures does limit the amount of screenings that they get. I will caution you, Wild Horse 9. Did you know Chloe Zhao is the only person in history, in the entire 51 years of the Toronto Film Festival, to win 2 People's Choice Awards? Chloe Zhao is the only person it would be completely unprecedented for Martin McDonagh to pull off the same feat the year after Chloe Zhao just did it.
Hey, I mean, I get that unprecedented. We talk all the time about Best Picture and how they never give it to someone who's been nominated before, and they've done it 2 of the last 3 years. So stats are meant to be broken. I'm sure Wild Horse 9 won't win. I need to look more at everything that is at TIFF to find something that jumps out the page to me a little bit more. But that's what I've had for a while, and now that's officially announced. Gonna hold with it.
I think if I were to go with something that's not a TIFF premiere, I would go with Elsinore. That feels sort of in the realm of the tearjerker that TIFF audiences really love. So that would be more where I'd lean. And also, I'd love to make just a prediction on the Venice Film Festival lineup. Possible Love is my pick for the Golden Lion, specifically because I think I might be a little wrong on this stat, but if I remember correctly, there has not been a Golden Lion winner. Or maybe there's only been one Golden Lion winner in the past 20 years that has not been in the New York Film Festival main slate. And currently, Possible Love is the only film playing at Venice and the New York Film Festival main slate. They don't have a single other Venice competition film in their lineup. And so right now that's saying to me Possible Love is a big one, is a big, big movie to watch. I don't know what that's going to mean for its Oscar chances, but I do think the Venice Golden Lion is Possible Love.
Hey, that could be a really great stat to pull off of, especially after how weird their winners have been in previous years. But maybe that's more of a correlation than causation. But I mean, also on the flip side of that, the last few Venice winners have been the least likely films that you would think to win. Who's the unk in the lineup who's got friends in the industry? Maybe go with them. I don't know. I know Venice lineup this year is a little light on some of those names that people are super, super excited to see their next film after their legendary filmography. Is Werner Herzog in competition with Bucking Faster?
Yes, Bucking Faster.
That's my pick. That fits the onk who still got it a little bit, that people really don't like, but a small pocket of people really enjoy.
Anyways, though, I feel like we should probably get into the meat of this video. We should talk director, we should talk screenplay, we should talk casting. What do you want to start with, Dylan?
Yeah, let's kick this thing off with Best Director. And I have something I want to bring to the table that I think deserves to be discussed. It deserves to be brought to the attention because this is a real possibility in a few months. And that is The Odyssey tying the nomination record that Sinners just set last year and possibly breaking the win record this upcoming year, all off of the back of its director, Christopher Nolan. And sure, he just won for Oppenheimer, but like I say in every one of these prediction video updates, look at the metrics. The Odyssey is outperforming Oppenheimer. It has that general buzz audience from both critics, audiences, and everyone in between. I understand from our conversation the other day that an action epic Odyssey should make more money than a historical biopic, but all the tracking was not supporting that, and it's blowing out the water. It took less than 2 weeks to surpass Oppenheimer's gross. It's got on par critical scores. That's Metacritic, Rotten Tomatoes, Letterboxd, however you want to look at your scores from both users and or from audiences and critics. So it's checking that box as well. And I mean, this is a film I think the industry is already calling the year's best film, the decade's best film, the greatest thing that they've seen in so long. And it's only been out for a month. Just wait till we get to the back half of the year. We're going to be getting those FYC screens. Everyone's going to want a piece of the Odyssey pie. And I think just like, and this is not a great comparison for me to make in terms of it winning awards, but this goes more towards the nominations. I think it's going to play a lot like Sinners, where every branch wants to show that they loved it, that they adored it, that they want to support this movie. And a large reason why I think The Odyssey is so successful so far and why it's going to continue to be successful is Christopher Nolan. And I think that's why he's going to go back to back in not just the picture race, but this director race as well. Because one of my other nominees here, Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu, he did the same thing a few years ago, earlier in the decade with Birdman, with The Revenant. He went back to back. Maybe he didn't win picture that time, but he won director. And if he could do that for The Revenant and Birdman, Nolan can do it for Oppenheimer and The Odyssey.
So, if The Odyssey wins 12 Oscars, I I won't know what to fucking do, Dylan. I won't know what to do.
Hey, I'll lay it out for you right here. I'll go down awards expert. Here is the best case scenario for the Odyssey winning awards. You got picture, you have director, you have Matt Damon in lead actor, you have Anne Hathaway in supporting actress, you have adapted screenplay, you have casting, cinematography, editing, production design, costume design, makeup and hairstyling, and sound. That's 12. Boom. That's not even mentioning possible if you want to say score or something else. That's 12 right there.
If the I like this is going to be the most frustrating thing on this channel this year because I have to constantly preface this with I really like this movie. If it wins that much, I may start to hate it. I may start to hate it. Sound, if this wins sound, get rid of the fucking award. Throw it out. Throw that. We don't need a sound award if this wins sound. Done. Forever. Gone. It immediately invalidates every winner in this category forever because clearly the Academy doesn't have fucking ears. Sorry. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can see many of those other wins. We'll talk screenplay later. I still think that's ridiculous. Director, I do have Christopher Nolan winning. Because like all of my comparisons in the past, you know, I've said that this is Saving Private Ryan. And I completely still am on board with that. I think that this is the big follow-up film where it's going to be suffering from success. That, you know, he's such a huge filmmaker, such a huge presence, such a huge reason that this film was successful, that I do think that's going to hit it in the Best Picture race. But I think that just like how Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu still won for The Revenant, just like how Steven Spielberg still won for Saving Private Ryan, Christopher Nolan will still win for Best Director. He's also the president of the DGA. So you're telling me that the president of the DGA can't win DGA? No, he's winning DGA. I think you could just about lock that up. But do I think that this is winning 12? No. I would cry if it does that. And again, I really, really like this movie. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I think it's fantastic, but be so for real. Be so for real. Giving it that many. No, I don't condone that. Okay, you have it tying the nomination record. Do you have it getting in for that fuck ass Travis Scott song?
I don't. I need to look back to what I have, but I since our last video, I do have all the actors now. So I think that's kind of what helped me get to that point.
You put in Leguizamo
And Morton.
and Morton, and oh, you have Morton as well. Jesus Christ. Okay. I'm on board with Nolan winning this. I do still have La Bola Negra winning Best Picture, and I have the path for that being adapted screenplay now instead of Best Director. So I think that this is going to be one of those races where we've got a different film winning screenplay and director, and it comes down to a battle at the end. So in the end, that's why I still have La Bola Negra winning. But man, dude, I this would be a very frustrating season for me if Odyssey just runs table the way that you're expecting it to.
And
Because again,
I'll admit,
I like
I
this
would
movie.
be I would be a little sad too, because I say time and time again on this channel, regardless of my personal thoughts in any category, I love a race. I love a competition. I love when you don't know who's winning leading up to the awards night. I think last year's acting races for both lead actor and supporting actress were amazing because every show in the lead up to the Oscars was like, who is winning this award? I have no clue. And there was a few years ago where there was multiple categories like that above the line. And while I love the Odyssey, I would be fans of most of those wins I just mentioned there. I would be sad if it's locked, sealed, and delivered, not let alone the Oscar night, but heading into CCA at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it would be. It's always disappointing when it's just like a foregone conclusion because then it almost feels like, why are we doing this whole parade? Why are we doing this? If there's no competition, if there's nothing else that can happen, why do it at all? We do this for the Oscar race, not for just like I don't know. It's never fun when all the nominees are just also rans and they're just there.
Well, that's the fun this year, I think, in the Best Director category. To fill out my list of nominees here is maybe the competition isn't for the number one slot, it's for those 2 through 5 slots. And I mean, I've already mentioned one of my names here, Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu for Digger. I don't think the internet hive mind can make me change my opinion on this movie so far. It just seems so bait on paper. That trailer looks like what the director's branch would go for, unless this movie is a complete train wreck of something like Bardo. But I feel like Warner, Alejandro, know better. They know not to send to Venice. They know Venice has their knives out, but they want him or this movie or whatever to fail. So this time they're like, hey, we're just going theatrical. We're letting the general audience, who seems, for the most part, in tune with this film. I know there's a large packet of people that don't seem like they like this movie. We also had that for the Odyssey. Obviously, these are different packets of people, but that didn't come to fruition for that film. I don't know if that's going to happen here with Digger. I just think this looks bold, this looks audacious, and it's attached to multiple above-the-line potential wins. So I think that's really going to help Alejandro stay relevant and timely inside the awards season race to get the nomination here. But I'm with you as well. I think that you need to have an international director inside your Best Director race. And this year, why not throw a duo, a pair? The Javis, La Bola Negra. We know Netflix is great at getting these director nominations. Last year, they may have missed with Guillermo del Toro. You could argue he was the number 6 slot. You could also argue that Frankenstein was the populist movie that missed last year, when people were trying to say it was Coogler with Sinners. But it was actually Frankenstein at the end of the day. But I just think on paper, La Bola Negra seems a lot stronger than Frankenstein. It also has the international voting block in its corner. It's a Cannes director winner. And again, just like Digger, just like the Odyssey, it's this audacious vision. It's bold. It's stylized. I haven't seen it, but from how you talked about it, how people at Cannes talked about it, this just seems like it's safer for nomination than Alejandro is. So for me, these are my 2 and 3. I feel pretty good about these 3. I understand Digger can blow up, but unless it's completely shat on, I just think he's probably going to be in, just how we saw McKay get in multiple times. Yeah, he may have missed for Don't Look Up, but I think this film's going to be a little bit stronger because Don't Look Up didn't have any actors come along. I think Digger's going to have at least one who's going to be in that win contention.
Dude, it's funny that you're saying you're not going to embrace the internet hive mind for Digger, and you're highly predicting it when that is the popular... Dude, the amount that I got shit on for not predicting Digger in our last video, for saying Tom Cruise isn't winning, for saying John Goodman is not going to get in because his role is going to be flat and it's going to be one note because president roles are typically utility roles. Dude, people jumped down my throat for not running away with like John Goodman's going to sweep everything. For one thing, people missed my point. For another thing, people are huge on Digger. So I think if anything, it's more unpopular for what I have, which is Digger in like 2 categories, maybe 3 categories total.
I think it depends on where your basis is coming from. I think in our community, our film ball community, which you can join the link down in the description, Digger is dropping lower and lower and lower. Alejandro's almost out of the director race. It's now in the bottom 5 of the Best Picture nominees, stuff like that. There's people saying they're removing it from all categories. So I think in our space is a little bit lower, but I think when you get to general punditry and awards following at large, that's where people are more in its camp. You can say for whatever reason that may be, but I just think that what we're going to see with this film, I think you will be right. I don't think John Goodman's a sweeper. I really don't want to have him my number 1. Maybe I don't anymore. I don't have to talk about that today, but I just think that this is a film. I think this could easily fill that slot of what we've been talking about. Maybe The Social Reckoning could be. Maybe Fiora could be, of that film that this core base of awards followers says, oh, I don't like that. I don't want that to happen. Ew, gross. This isn't for me. And it just happens and happens and happens. And I think a large reason why that would happen would be back off the back of just not Cruise's performance, but also Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu's direction.
It's possible, but I still see this movie as an immense financial flop. They're taking a huge risk with the immense budget on it, and One Battle After Another only escaped its financial flop status by being one of the most beloved movies critically and with audiences of last year. Yeah, people didn't really go to see it, but it didn't get talked about like a financial bomb because people were so enthusiastic about it. This looks like it's going to be divisive at best. To me, this is Babylon times 1,000. This is the movie that is going to be hugely underperforming, big spectacle, and it's going to get clowned on for doing that. I do not see a world where this is a massive, massive hit.
So we share two of our same top three. I guess moving down to the rest of my five, and this is maybe where we continue to split a little bit more after both having Nolan and the Javis. Because, like I said before, I feel good about my top three. 4 and 5 is where I start to arise a little bit of questions. And my first thought here, I kind of want to trust Neon. Neon hasn't set us a fault or set us away for a few years now. They've been pretty good at this game, and they continue to showcase they have the same path their contenders year after year after year. They go to Cannes, even if they're not a picture win contender, they still do a great job of getting them into the director nomination. You can look at Sentimental Value last year, the runner-up prize at Cannes. Joachim Trier gets nominations at the Academy. You look to Anatomy of a Fall, a Palme d'Or winner, wins Screenplay. Justine Trier gets the Oscar nomination. Triangle of Sadness wins the Palme, gets nominated for Screenplay, and Ruben Östlund comes along for Director. Usually, whatever Neon's top dog is, regardless of its strength in Best Picture, is going to get in that director nomination. I know you can point to last year with It Was Just an Accident. That film won the Palme and missed the Oscar for Best Picture, Best Director, but I would say at the end of the day, you could argue it definitely wasn't number one, and it maybe wasn't even number two, considering the fact that Secret Agent also got the Best Picture nomination. And this year, I think you have two Neon movies really to look at, and your question is just, which one are they going to prioritize a little bit more? Is it going to be the Palme d'Or winning Fjord, where that has actors Hollywood would recognize? It has a buzzy topic that's going to get conversations started and pieces going. Or is it going to be the film from someone who has been rewarded by the Academy before? It's pushing 3.5 hours. It's a little bit slower with faces that you may not recognize. I understand the pros and cons for each. I just think on paper, if you're looking at these two films, one film clearly has a lot higher of a ceiling, and one film has a lot lower of a floor. And I feel safer going with Fjord and Christian Mungiu here in my Best Picture lineup due to not just the Palme, not just the fact that he is a very respected international auteur who hasn't had a chance to be recognized at the Oscars, but also due to the cast, the subject matter, and it has Neon's prime release date. And in a screener pile, it's not going to be a 3.5 hour movie that you have to pick, and you can pick the shorter film with faces that you recognize if you can only pick one of them to watch.
Yeah, I also have Christian Mungiu. And at this point, I agree with you. It's sort of in flux which one is going to be Neon's priority at the end of the day. Just winning the Palme doesn't guarantee that. With that said, I do think Fjord is a much more Oscar-friendly film than It Was Just an Accident was last year, which I was rallying against the entire time. And so I think Mungiu makes a lot of sense. Now, if the film comes out and really gets killed by American critics, if they really jump on it, because like I mentioned earlier, Fjord is not included in the New York Film Festival main slate. And I think it's one of the first Palme d'Or winners in a very long time not to be included, because a lot of highbrow critics are just not all that warm to the film, mostly because of the way that it talks about its themes and what its themes sort of are. So yeah, Fjord could drop out, especially in the possibility that all of a sudden does what Drive My Car did a few years ago. If it starts racking up those major, major critic wins, if we get that wave of highbrow support for the film, we could see things change. But last year, I would point to again, the makeup of the Golden Globes is at least last year. It's not anymore because of what they've done with Penske Media. But the makeup of the Golden Globes was highly South American, and so there was a bit of a boost that happened for The Secret Agent at that time. There's a bit of like a wave of support that happened there. Obviously, we know we've had 2 seasons of this now. Brazil goes all out for campaigning for their films on the internet, for just it is a publicity campaign that runs itself. All of a sudden won't have that. So there's not the possibility of a shift in that way. The shift would have to come from the highbrow critics. It would have to come from a very specific sect. But I completely agree. If you don't have Manju in, you should have Hamaguchi in. I think it's one of the two. You're either Gucci Gang or you're part of the Manju squad. So
I like that.
um,
I like that.
but yeah, at this point, I don't know. I'm on the fence about All of a Sudden. I want to see how it performs through the fall festivals, because you're so right. 3.5 hours as a screener to pick up, that's difficult. That is very difficult, but it could do it. This film does have a lot of buzz around it. People really love it. Now, I want to throw out my 2 last picks here, Dylan, because these are wild cards. No one has seen them yet. No one really knows the possibility of how far they could run. But man, oh man, oh man, am I looking at ink and licking my lips. I'm thinking that this could be a major film. And Danny Boyle, when he hits a home run. This is the guy that did Slumdog Millionaire, 127 Hours. This is the guy who makes films that are so energetic, kinetic. They are completely director film. I mean, he made a Sorkin movie where his direction feels more like a standout than the script itself. Um, I think that Danny Boyle, what he's doing with this, especially in translating something from the stage to the screen, this could be a very fascinating film, and one that has a lot of kinetic direction and could play well with a very specific group of voters in the director's branch. And so, because I just think that this film is moving towards being bigger and bigger all the time, I have Danny Boyle in here. And I'm going to make a big swing. I've taken Lord and Miller out. I feel like it's not that the film is dropping in my estimation. It's not that the film is dropping in my estimations. I still think it's top 5. But I just don't think that there's room for it when there are other populist films that are doing as well as they are. And I don't have it winning adapted screenplay anymore. So my argument for a populist film can get in if it's winning an above the line category, that doesn't stand anymore. So I've moved them out. I'm looking at Your Mother, Your Mother, Your Mother, which I think wins the TIFF People's Choice Award. That's a movie that looks like it has really strong dynamic direction. It looks like it's taking big swings in not just the storyline and what it's doing with that, but it looks like visually a huge, massive swing the entire way through. I feel like if this film is a contender, if it is a People's Choice winner, it would be on the back of the coolness of the direction. And so this is a very weak number 5. It's a big, a leap of faith here, but I am at the moment going for Bassam Tariq.
I hope it pays off for you. I really do. I love when one of us takes a bold swing. It doesn't always hit. We've obviously had our L's in the past. Looking at awards
We have
expert right
L's
now.
every week, Dylan.
We do. We read the comments. We see everyone throwing our L's left and right. Sometimes I think that there's variance to your L's. I think there's an L that you hold with everyone. Those ones are lame. Those are the after the hunts. Part of the reason why I never want to predict that movie is I didn't think it would be real. And if it's not going to be real, I don't want to hold that with everyone. I think this would be a fun one because looking at awards expert right now, 4,352 people have made director nominations. 5 of them have Bassam Tariq in their top 5 for best director. And you're one of those 5. Therefore, if it happens, you get to gloat, get to be fun. You get to say, hey, I called that. It's like last year, while I didn't hold F1 all year, when we did our first predictions, 7 people had it in best picture. I was one of those 7 people. So I feel like, hey, look at us. Look at us. We can do cool things too. Sadly, though, I don't have your same faith in your mother, your mother, your mother. Eek, Danny Boyle is on my outside looking in. For my fifth slot, this is where I also want to do something fun, but nothing's leaping out the page to me. Sure, Martin McDonagh's there, but to some people's dismay, McDonough really feels like Edward Berger, that guy who directs movies that people really like, but for some reason, they just don't go out for a director. We saw this
Three
happen with Three
Billboards, man.
Billboards. Yeah, Three Billboards was the runner-up for Best Picture, and he still missed director that year.
This is, it seems to be so much more of a Three Billboards than a Banshees. Banshees had some really, really interesting visual stuff going on. Not getting the same sense from this one. It feels way, way more screenplay heavy than it does direction heavy. So,
and I would say the other thing with Banshees is look at the strength of the director lineup that year. Obviously, All Quiet wasn't a huge contender all year, so Berger wasn't a player. Who was six? James Cameron? Baz Luhrmann? No, McDonough's not going to miss on a lineup like that. And this year, I feel like we have a strong crop. We've mentioned names. We've said Nolan, Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu, the Javis, Christian Mungiu. We have Danny Boyle for Ink. We could have a huge TIFF player as well. And I just think McDonough could be pushed out for like what you said, this either not being his best to date or not being the most showy direction. I think this is like last year of Yorgos Lanthimos. Yorgos got multiple precursors on the way to the Oscar. He got the BAFTA. I think he got something else as well, DGA. But at the end of the day, they pushed him out for something that was a little bit more fun. And they were like, this isn't The Favorite. This isn't Poor Things. You've done better before. I think that's what McDonough's going to face with Wild Horse 9. So I don't want to throw in another populist film, the director. Like you just talked about with Lord and Miller. Usually, they don't happen unless, like you said, they had that above-the-line win to their name, like what Ryan Coogler had last year with Sinners. We already had that box checked. We have Christian Nolan for the Odyssey. We don't need to throw in something else. So that's Denis for Dune. He's missed for two of them already. Why would he get him for the third? I've already mentioned Del Toro missing for Frankenstein last year, despite multiple tech sweeps behind his name in that race. So that throws out a few movies in the race for me. Moving away from the populist films or the films that are just super, super high in the best director race, that leads me to do something, I want to say fun. And maybe it's not as fun as Your Mother, Your Mother, Your Mother, but it is following the footsteps of my Neon debate for Christian Mungiu. Neon, main contender, gets into the director. You know who others main contender always into the director? A24. And I've gone on and on and on about who is A24's main contender this year. And you look at the reviews, you look at the reactions, everyone's saying, that film is really well directed. How can you make a film that feels like a play, looking at ink? How can you make a film that feels like a play be so creatively directed, and that gets a director nomination? It's your Ink argument, but just for Olivia Wilde and The Invite. And some people may be like, oh, you don't need to put Olivia Wilde in, you're just doing this, but you need a woman. And I don't think that's the case. Maybe that helps, but I think, like I just mentioned, A24's top movie, it gets that director nomination. Mari Supreme, Zone of Interest, Minari, the list goes on and on and on. And if The Invite is currently my top A24 dog, it's my alternative in the adapted screenplay lineup if they don't give it to The Odyssey and Christopher Nolan. If it's a good 3 acting nominations, why could Olivia Wilde not come along with the party? And my main reservation for this is the Academy does show they don't like actor directors. They don't like to do it. But I think outside of that, she's got so much going for her. So that's kind of my fun extra name to the ring is it's fun. It fits the A24. We've seen people really come to bat for it so far, and it could be competing for another above-the-line win. So I think it has enough strength to be in that contention for that potential 5th slot.
Dude, I think Olivia Wilde's direction is fucking phenomenal in The Invite. She really directs the hell out of that thing. But the difference in opinion we have here is I do not see this being A24's contender to the end of the year. I do not see this staying in the conversation in that way. I do not see this being more than a 2-nomination movie. I think that this is the Big Sick. I think it's the summer comedy that people love that comes and gets replaced by other movies that come later. A24 has a robust fall slate. They have a lot of really good stuff coming out. I just don't see this lasting when they've got so many other films that are going to be hogging up the spotlight. So That's where our difference of opinion is here. If the invite is in picture, I would certainly humor it for a director nomination, and I would be thrilled about it. I think that she has some of the best direction of the year. And that was a movie I went in thinking this is going to be a screenplay movie, and then I heard her talk about it. I was at a Q&A with her and Edward Norton. I heard them talk, and I came away from that going, oh my God, she is a phenomenal director. That is, she directed the hell out of this thing. It would be a great nomination. Again, I don't see this being ahead of Club Kid, the debut, possibly Misty Green by the end of the year if the film really performs. But yeah, at this point, that's just where our difference of opinion is. I respect it, and I think if the film does what you expect it to do, then I would be on board with you. I just am not on that train of adapted screenplay winner. Man, what? I'm seeing some people saying Edward Norton could win. What? No, get the fuck out of here. I feel like I gotta mention Curry Barker. I don't think it's gonna happen, but Obsession is strongly in the race, and we're looking what nominations can this film get, where can it pick up some extra things, and the amount of people in the industry talking about this 26-year-old kid and saying, like, you are the future of filmmaking. There could be a real industry surge to give this young man some directing credit, to give him some awards. I mean, I think the only person ever to get a directing nomination in their 20s was John Singleton for Boys in the Hood. And so there could form a narrative. There could form a sort of let's award the future of cinema and give Curry Barker a nomination. It's possible. I'm not on board with it now, but he is in my top 10 here. And I could see a path. I think Critics' Choice could happen. I think it's possible DGA could happen. I don't think Golden Globes or BAFTA would go for Barker, but I feel like in the realm. So I don't know. What do you think about Barker? Where are you at with Obsession right now?
I think that Curry Barker is someone who fits the mold of the inevitable DGA snub that gets replaced with the eventual international director that comes along. The thing is, DGA is getting more and more likely to do those international directors. So I don't think DGA would do Mungyu, but I think DGA would do the hobbies. So if Mungyu is coming or if Hamaguchi is coming, maybe it's Barker who gets replaced. But what I kind of see for Obsession is I think that either Curry or Olivia Wilde, one of them is going to start off the season on fire at CCA. Unless CCA does the age-old, hey, we're going to do 10 nominees this year because we don't want to leave anyone out like they've done in the past. But if they stick to 5 or 6, I think one of them will get in. And that one person will leapfrog the other and continue to show up throughout the rest of the season. Whether that is at DGA, whether that is at Golden Globe. I don't think BAFTA would do both of them. I think BAFTA would be much more likely to do Wild due to BAFTA's weird gender rules. But I think that whoever gets the CCA is the one who I think is more likely to remain throughout the season. And currently I think it's Wild, but I wouldn't be shocked if Barker jumps over her and then eventually gets the DGA as well. Well, I guess let's move over to Best Casting, where we haven't done one of these in a little bit. And I feel like last time I made a pretty big oopsie in my casting predictions because for one prediction video, I faltered. I took the Odyssey out of my number 1 slot. Well, it's coming back now. The Odyssey's back to my number 1 in Best Casting. And I just think that a large reason to why people really like this movie, in addition to Nolan's direction, in addition to the grand spectacle, in addition to the story, is people love this cast. Whether it's from the crazies online saying you can't cast these people, that's not historically accurate, to people coming on saying, no, they did great, they were amazing, blah, blah, blah. This is a story that involves Cyclops, it involves witches, it involves gods. Who cares if these people weren't in Greece? I don't think any of these actors would fit in if you plop them into Greece back then. But my thing for the casting is look to what I kind of hinted at before of what some of these acting nominations could be. John Leguizamo, career best performance here. Elliot Page, while I don't have them in for a nomination, steals multiple scenes throughout the year or throughout this film, including the Hades sequence. Samantha Morton gets another star-casing moment here that she just gave an interview recently saying she doesn't get many roles nowadays. Here's a casting director who gave them another shot to showcase their talents. Matt Damon, career best performance. Anne Hathaway probably winning an Oscar here. Even looking at some more of the people that there's been some extra talk about them, but I mean, there's people who make complaints over Lupita Nyong'o or Zendaya. You've seen praise come for both of them. I know in this little punditry space, there's been a lot of hate on Tom Holland. I think if you go to non-awards lovers like ourselves, people really do like Tom Holland's casting for his boyish charm and his optimism in the world. I just think you look at this cast from top to bottom. You're pulling in big names. You're pulling in small names. You're having diversity. You're having lots of different types of faces on screen. This is what casting is all about.
I would counter that by saying if the work that you're doing in casting is just exclusively going for all of the biggest names, like outside of Samantha Morton and John Leguizamo, I think those two are very inspired casting choices. You are essentially just casting the A-list across the board. To me, and what we saw last year with One Battle After Another, that was a film that not only did it cast those big names, they didn't win that award for Sean Penn and Leonardo DiCaprio. They won that award for casting Teyana Taylor in there. They won that for Chase Infinity, discovering that revelation. And they won that because of how many people, in terms of like the police officers, the interrogators, the doctors, I think there was a surgeon, I don't remember exactly, but as well as people in the communities throughout the film, like when we saw those people sort of running away from the when we saw the people running away from the police in that sort of like Harriet Tubman sequence with Benicio del Toro, a lot of those people are just not actors. You know, the casting there goes so much deeper than just, we're going to put Leo in a starring role. There's so much more going on. And I don't know. I think that one thing that will benefit the Odyssey is that when people insult the casting, it is very easy to, you know, ascribe it to people being horrible on the internet. I think it is very good casting, but it really is like, it's not inspiring casting outside of a few key players. For the most part, it's just like, yeah, of course you're going to cast Robert Pattinson, the hottest boy in Hollywood. Of course you're going to cast Tom Holland in every billion-dollar movie. Of course you're going to cast Zendaya. Of course you're going to cast Matt Damon. Like, it's just all of the, it feels like a lot of very easy choices. And maybe it wins because the film is just so huge and it's got a big ensemble. But to me, it doesn't feel like the spirit of this award, because the spirit of this award feels like discovery to me, not just putting the right movie stars in the right roles.
I think that last point's very fair. I don't think the Odyssey has a sense of discovery here. I think for some people, it's rediscovering faces that they haven't seen in a long time. But I think the reason why I think the Odyssey would work really well here is, yes, you have the A-list stars, but I think a lot of them are playing not to what you would expect them to do. But I think it's also, you have such a deep bench here. Like you mentioned before, there's Samantha Morton, John Leguizamo, but there's also Elliot Page. There's also like James Remar as Tiresias. There's people popping up throughout the film. Himesh Patel as well, where it's just like every little character, it's doing the Oppenheimer thing, where maybe you've recognized their face from something before, but you don't know that actor's name. But when they pop up, you're like, oh, I know they're going to give me the sauce. They're going to give me the juice. And I feel like for the large part of this cast, whether it's from the critics, whether it's from the audience, people are saying this was the right choice. And I think in tandem with the weird people in the corner of the internet complaining about historically accurate casting, I think that only helps boost the narrative behind this film in addition to its Best Picture victory. I think really what we would assume this casting win would look like going forward, the only thing the Odyssey is missing is the sense of discovery of a brand new face. But I think it fulfills that by, like I said, rediscovering actors that you haven't either seen in a long time or rediscovering talent you didn't know that they still had.
Well, and you know what? Like Oppenheimer would have won this award, and it would have had a lot of the same arguments against it of like, you just kind of filled the roles with everyone major in Hollywood. But the one difference I would say is that in that movie, it really did feel like you were giving people a chance to show stuff that they haven't had a chance to show in quite some time. Like, you know, when was the last time Cillian Murphy had a lead role outside of Peaky Blinders? Like, he hasn't been doing movie star roles in quite some time. And, you know, giving Robert Downey Jr. A role like that where he could really show off his dramatic chops after finishing up with the MCU, that's another pretty inspired choice that paid off really well. I don't see that for the Odyssey yet. I really don't. Whereas I do see for La Bola Negra, this is a film that largely is discovery. This is a film that Milo Kifes, who is one of the 3 lead roles, when I spoke to him at Cannes, he said, a year ago, I was cleaning hotel rooms. And then Los Javis called me up, and suddenly I'm here walking the red carpet at Cannes. That's crazy. This dude, he was he was cleaning sheets, and suddenly he's in the biggest movie at the festival. Then you've got a major musician from Spain who is given his first acting role. That's a huge thing to like take a chance on someone, put them in a lead role, to entrust something like that. Not only does this film pull complete non-actors and put them into major roles, it's also a cast that is broadly and authentically casting to represent a century of queer life in Spain. It is a film that is so huge in its ambitions, specifically in the casting. And then as well, to pair that with casting 2 major globally renowned actors and putting them in key roles that really just come in, steal a couple of scenes, and then dip out. It's the type of casting that creates a shorthand where as soon as we see this person on screen, we know who they're supposed to be. So to me, La Bola Negra, it's not just a film that has such a broad appeal across so many different categories. It's a film that is discovering as well as pairing that with major performers in roles that just it like Marty Supreme last year, which I think was incredibly well cast. That was a film that used celebrities as a way to create characters without having to delve into a lot of exposition or character development. We just see someone and we know who they are. La Bola Negra does that too. And it's mixed with so many different things. I don't know. To me, it's not just because I think that this film is stronger in Best Picture, but it's also just because this is what I think the casting category should be about. Discovery, and putting together an ensemble from all over the place, not just from the Hollywood A-list.
I totally agree with everything that you just said. I don't think my reasons for the Odyssey were anti La Bola Negra. I just think that what we saw like last year, I think the extra edge of winning Best Picture gets you over the hurdle, because I think a lot of the things that you used to describe La Bola Negra, obviously they compare with Marty Supreme, but I think they would also correlate with something like Sinners as well, where you're pulling in some names that you know, but it's also a large cast of people that you haven't really seen in some of those smaller performances. And I just think that if the Odyssey doesn't win picture and La Bola Negra wins picture, I agree with you. I make the swap. If the Odyssey is in a tight race of La Bola Negra, I might make this swap. But currently, with how I see this season playing out, I don't think it's much of a competition there. I think the Odyssey will bring this along. In terms of other nominations in this category, I think I'll also throw a little bone over to Wild Horse 9. I think that just based on the trailer here, we see that it has casting of Indigenous people from Easter Island. I think that we will see get props from the casting community due to the fact that it's giving John Malkovich just this big showcase role and highlights why he's an actor so many people still love and adore. And like, I don't think it's the type of thing to win in this category per se, but I think it's something akin to like Hamnet from last year. And I know people hate when you make comparisons just to the year before, But casting, we've had 1 year of it. That's all you can really make comparisons to in terms of nominations. Like Hamnet last year, you had lots of kids, you had people who had to fill in like the British time period background actors. But then you were also giving showcase performances to actors people really like. And while Wild Horse 9 doesn't seem to have children, I think that it does have the Easter Island community. It does have John Malkovich that should help boost it to a win. And it has a sense of discovery, too, with what we've heard about Mariana Di Girolamo in the role as well. So I think those three I feel great in for a nomination. There's another movie I feel pretty good for, but that all hinges on the strength of Digger, just like Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu over in director. I mean, it's Tom Cruise. Like, that could be enough there. But, I mean, there's people who said John Goodman here. It could go crazy. It could go manic. Riz Ahmed giving one of his best performances. You look at the ensemble. Yes, it is a lot of showy names, but it could be like Don't Look Up, where if there was a casting category then, I feel like would be a contender just because you're plugging in so many people to get like one or two scenes to really highlight and be funny and blow up and showcase, hey, these are great actors working with a great screenplay from top to bottom. I'm sure it probably doesn't have much discovery from top to bottom, but I feel like what we saw last year from casting, and I think what we will see going forward from casting, you kind of have to pluck from your best picture lineup of 10. Well, I think that's lame. I think last year, the fact that Weapons couldn't get in, despite Amy Madigan winning, despite the story behind Weapons, and the fact it made the shortlist, I think showcases that your 5 nominees are going to be 5 Best Picture nominees.
Well, hear me out. Digger, this year's SAG Ensemble nominee that misses picture.
I could see that. I could see that.
I see that for it. And hear me out why I think that this could be an ensemble nominee that doesn't get in. Just like the Odyssey, there's no discovery here. It is literally just we put all of the big movie stars in this movie. Like, think of it this way. Would Babylon have gotten a casting nomination? I think, although there was the discovery of Diego Calva in that, this doesn't have that. So to me, that's a little bit where I'm feeling with Digger. But if you are riding that high on Digger, then I won't fault you for that. But I want to go back to what you were saying about Hamnet and kids. You know what movie has a lot of kids in it? Fjord. And Fjord is a really interesting one where this is a movie, it doesn't have a huge nomination ceiling, but casting is one I can totally see for it, because not only are you putting Renata Reinsve and Sebastian Stan into a setting like this, but you're also casting the entire village around them and casting a ton of children through it. So to me, the whole narrative behind that is putting those two actors in these roles, trusting that Sebastian Stan can pull off this role where he is largely speaking Romanian as well as speaking English and a little touch of Norwegian here and there. To me, this is a casting high wire act where there's a lot of things that could have gone wrong in putting this film together, and yet they just found the right way to put that ensemble together to make it feel really real and authentic. But I also, just on the sense of discovery, I don't think you can make a lineup here without Obsession, because Indy Navarrete is likely the winner of Best Actress. At this time, you know, maybe something comes out at the Falls Festivals, and maybe it's just, yes, it's time to give Julianne Moore a second Academy Award. But at this point, Indy Navarrete is year-defining in her performance. Everyone is talking about her. She is the fresh new face that is going to be everywhere for the next 20 years. I think Obsession will get a lot of love and a lot of attention and a lot of respect just for discovering her and giving her the platform to shine. So to me, Obsession is a no-brainer here.
And funny enough, those are kind of the 2 films I was deciding between for my 5th slot. I do agree. They both make so much sense for the nomination that I probably should pluck out something like Digger. But at the point where I have Digger, I would feel like it kind of would just strong arm its way into the nomination. But I do think that would be the one I would pull out if I put one of these 2 in. And I just think going back to like last year where you had Amy Madigan in Weapons, like I said, you had the complete story around that whole ensemble flipping at the last second, and it still couldn't power its way through. makes me a little hesitant for Obsession to get in off of the back of just one performer, considering a lot of the other cast were friends of Curry Barker. So it's not
But
like
you
you were
just said
pulling in.
yourself, Weapons was not a Best Picture nominee.
It wasn't, but that leaves me with fewer, like you said, it's casting the community, it's casting the kids, it's trusting Sebastian Stan to do another language inside the film, where I think that's a little bit stronger. Because, like I said, I think for casting, you need to look at your best picture lineup. Dune, Project Hail Mary, I'm not considering those for casting. Behemoth, sure, Pedro Pascal gets to showcase his talents. The trailer looks like there's a kid in as well, but it looks like it's a pretty small ensemble. So, I'm not sure there's enough to get in there. And that leaves me with my only other option to be the invite. And I think it's a great cast. There's just four of them. I don't know if casting's going to be able to get in with just four people in your cast. That leaves me with Fjord, Obsession, duking out for my fifth slot. Maybe I should take out Digger, just with how strong I think that movie will be behind its satire, behind its social relevance, and behind the wins I think it could get in its corner. It leads me to want to put it in here, but maybe it's an over nomination. I should spread the wealth a little bit more. But my one hesitation with Obsession, like I said before, is yes, Indy is such a great story. Yes, she could win the award, but can you get the nomination for one performance? Because last year, Frankenstein showed me you can't. And I think that could be what Obsession ultimately comes up short here. But if Digger flops out, if Wild Horse 9 doesn't need the nomination, if Fjord is not a Best Picture player, cool. It's my number 6. You can come on in. To our next category of original screenplay. Because, I mean, you can see my graphic here. I have 5 Best Picture nominees. And it's really hard for a non-picture nominee to leapfrog a picture nominee in screenplay when, as you see here, these 5 movies all kind of feel like screenplay movies. But I've kind of guided the conversation both in director and casting. So, Matt, I want to hand it over to you. Let's go down the list of your original screenplay lineup.
Bro, I'm not a good person to direct this category because people are going to yell at me for still having Club Kid winning. I'm
Do you
not.
actually?
Yeah, I still have it winning. I think it's such a screenplay winner. So, I still have it. I'm riding with my boy. I'm riding with my baby. I want Club Kid. But realistically, the easy pick right now is Wild Horse 9. That is the easy number one. Martin McDonagh has not won an above the line Oscar yet, and people have been saying for years he needs to win something. They wanted him to win for 3 Billboards for screenplay, but Get Out was that year. They wanted him to win for Banshees for screenplay, but Everything Ever All at Once was that year. Maybe, just maybe, Wild Horse 9 is the film that comes out in a year where he can win a screenplay prize. So, that's the easy choice. But do I want to go with the easy choice in August? No. Fuck out of here, man. I want to pick something fun. I want to pick a film I'm passionate about and have so much love for, and that's Club Kid. But I also want to shout out Obsession. Obsession is a film that has gotten so much attention and love and respect. And a lot of that, I mean, if they can't, which they likely won't, give Curry Barker the love for direction, screenplay is a possibility. And we have seen horror movies take screenplay prizes in the past. So I think that is up there as well. Look, my top 3, I feel very strongly about. Club Kid is my passion pick. It's not the most likely, but it's the one that feels the most right to me because I've seen the movie and I know what it can do to an audience. And it feels like a screenplay winner to me. But there's a long path for it to go. But it's a more fun pick than just defaulting to Martin McDonagh's going to win because Martin McDonagh. But yeah, that's my top 3 at the moment. And I guess if I'm correct and Your Mother, Your Mother, Your Mother wins the People's Choice Award, like I mentioned before, in the past 10 years, there's only been 2 People's Choice Award winners that have not won an above the line Oscar. Usually screenplay, usually a screenplay win. And so if this is the PCA winner, maybe, just maybe, this American fictions itself to a screenplay win. But at the moment, I have it number 5. And to finish off my top 5, I've got Fjord in here, which just, if that's the big international player, then it's just a shoe-in. It's a given. It's in here.
I think it'd be really funny if we have Blade at home gets the screenplay win here. But I think it would be so fun. It would be cool. For my list though, I do have the lame stuff at the top because I do have another battle of Wild Horse 9 and Digger here in the original screenplay category, just like I have in lead actor. And for me, it's kind of like, where do I go here? Because do I want to match them up and have the same actor win with screenplay? Do I want to split? Or do I go in another direction and let other things here? I think that Digger is going to promote satire. It's got really strong other above the line prospects. It's from someone who's won before. Like you said, McDonough and Wild Horse 9. He hasn't had the win yet. Does this look like the film that may get him the win? I'm not sure. But I mean, he came close with Banshees. He came close with 3 billboards. The rest of my lineup, though, I don't want to spend too much time here because it's kind of just would be me regurgitating points I already said in director for both Wild Horse and Digger. They're here. I don't have reasons to personally doubt them yet. Do I think either of them screenplay winner? Not as much, but I feel good with them. I feel good with Fiora as well, like we talked about. It's going to start a conversation. There will be people who don't like what it has to say, but I think that's enough to get the ball rolling. And if this is in picture, I would say the screenplay nom is even more of a lock than the director nom to come along with it. Obsession, like you talked about, Indy Navarrete is going to be in the lead actress win contention if this is in picture. I would assume the screenplay comes along with it. You've seen the people talk on Twitter. They're like, oh my gosh, it's so deep. Did you know that Nikki's not actually the horror monster? She's the victim. There's so many layers to this movie. Wow, I never would have guessed that.
Dude, I just need to pause to say the discourse around the Halloween Horror Nights at Universal is so ridiculous. Like, yeah, we understand that she is a victim, but she's also still the scary monster. Like, you know who else is a victim? Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. You know who else is a victim? The Frankenstein's monster. Like, she is the icon of the movie. Yes, Bear is the villain, but she is still the one who smashes someone's head in with a brick. Like, she's still the scary monster.
At the same event, my tickets are bought. Super excited to go. They have a sinner's house. Michael B. Jordan gets turned into a vampire. He's a victim. He wasn't the villain heading into the movie, but that version of him is the one who's scary with the fangs, with the blood, who is going to attack you. It's the same thing with Nikki here. Yes, happened to her, but entity controlling her, entity scary. Woo! But for the rest of my original screenplay lineup, I have Behemoth in here. Like I said before, attached to the Best Picture nominee. It's really hard to take something out. Misty Green's right here. It's right here. It's my alternative. It's number 6. It's got that great trailer. It's going to Toronto. I have 2 acting nominations in for it right now. Maybe it's crazy for me to have the acting and not the screenplay. But who knows? Maybe this can be the WGA movie. Because if you look at this lineup that I have right here, Wild Horse 9's not eligible. Fjord's not eligible. I'm not sure if Obsession's eligible. Who knows? Maybe Digger's not even eligible. I don't know if Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu's in the WGA. So 4 of my 5 in original screenplay are not WGA eligible. So Misty Green could be an option. Obviously, people are saying the debut. I know you have Club Kid. While I don't think this gets the Oscar nomination, I think the drama or Josephine would be WGA contenders that will put themselves in the top 10 conversation because of that. And of course, there's Elsinore. Maybe it follows in the same footsteps of something like Blue Moon last year, hopping in for that screenplay lineup. The issue I would say is last year there was not that extra Best Picture nominee to really compete for that 5th slot. It was F1. F1's not a screenplay movie, so it makes sense to why we had the non-Best Picture nominee over an original last year. If you have Wild Horse 9, Digger, Fjord, Behemoth, Obsession, and if you even don't have one of those, like Matt has Club Kid, if you have the debut, if you have Misty Green, I feel like all those would be ahead of something else. But who knows? Maybe someone out there is an Elsinore Best Picture believer, but for me, like you said before, for some other films just being an acting vehicle, that's where I see it. It's Andrew Scott. He could go to the moon, but I don't think picture or screenplay comes along. I don't think there's any tech potential there either. Yeah.
I also should tell you, I took Behemoth out of my Best Picture 10 to make room for Your Mother, Your Mother, Your Mother.
That's fair. I want to take it out, but at this point, I'm stubborn. I'm stubborn because I don't think that a NIF world premiere should be a death sentence. I don't think it's a great sign, but I think there's reasons to back up why it's going to NIF. And I think that as long as it delivers what we've heard about it, what we've seen from that trailer, I think it could be enough, but I think it would be, like we've been saying throughout the season, it's that 7 to 10 movie. It's not that top 5 contender.
No, the New York premiere is not a death sentence at all. In fact, I think it's a very impressive place that it's premiering, in one of the big 3 spots in the main slate. And let's finish off with Best Adapted Screenplay. And I will lead the conversation on this one because, Dylan, The Odyssey is not winning screenplay, man. It's an action adventure movie. If Christopher Nolan could sweep the way he did for Oppenheimer, which was a talky courtroom drama, he's not winning a writing Oscar for a movie that is mostly action sequences. It's not going to happen, but it will get nominated. It will definitely get nominated. My case for it missing the nomination months ago is ridiculous, especially knowing how big of a film it is right now. But I do not see this factoring into the win conversation in a category that is so full of films that I think are going to have a lot more dialogue and that are going to be possibly a little bit more ambitious just in a writing sense than The Odyssey is. Especially because we've already got very prominent historians coming out and saying, this isn't really a great adaptation of Homer's story. It's a great movie, but it sort of misses some of the things. I don't think that's going to factor in a lot, but there has been a lot of discourse around Emily Wilson, the translator of a very prominent version of the Odyssey, being very, very against what Nolan did in his adaptation. But yeah, that's besides the point. For me, the reason that this does not win here is it is an action movie, and we do not see those big, epic action adventure movies. Even when they win Best Picture, they don't win this. Gladiator did not win this. Lawrence of Arabia, Lawrence of Arabia did not win screenplay. And this is that type of movie. Off the top of my head, I can't remember if Braveheart won screenplay. I don't think Braveheart won screenplay. This is the same type of movie. And if it were to win, it would not be on the back of screenplay. I think one major point for the Odyssey would be if this is Lord of the Rings Return of the King, which I believe they did win screenplay for that one. And so that's the only real comparison that I can think of here is Return of the King. But still, Christopher Nolan, it's been shown time and time again, the writing branch is not as kind to him as the rest of the Academy is. And if he couldn't win for Oppenheimer, he's not going to win for this one. So instead, I have La Bola Negra at number 1, which is a wildly ambitious, multi-timeline spanning film, structurally really interesting and unique. And it's doing something incredibly ambitious in adaptation, which is it's using an unfinished play as a foundation, and then it's building something completely new on top of that. Despite the fact that this is in the adapted category, it is one of the most original films of the year, hands down. The basis of this film being that unfinished play by Lorca is really the smallest part of this movie. I think it's honestly a stretch to call this an adapted screenplay because that is such a small part of the movie, and so much of it just comes from Los Javis and them building a story around what might have happened to this unfinished or lost work. It's my number 1. It feels like a screenplay winner. And look, if I'm giving Christopher Nolan the director prize and I still have La Bola Negra winning Best Picture, it's got to win screenplay. So that's why I've got it number 1. But I would give me your case for the Odyssey. I'd love to hear some argument for it that's not just this is the biggest movie of the year and it's going to win everything.
Well, first, I want to say the examples you gave of epics outside of Gladiator, we weren't alive for those. It's a different academy now. I would also say is
yeah, but they loved
I don't
epics
have it,
so
Emily
much.
Wilson. I got
But
Fagles
Dylan,
here.
Dylan, yes, it's a different academy now, and the academy back then loved this type of movie so much more than the present academy does. They gave this type of movie a win every other year, it seemed. There was always a Titanic. There was always there was always a Braveheart, there was always a Lord of the Rings, there was always a massive, big scale David Lean epic type movie that was winning. That movie doesn't win anymore. So if back then those types of movies didn't win screenplay, why would they now, in an era where we give Best Picture to stuff like Moonlight and Everything Ever All at Once and Coda? You know, it's a different ballgame.
This is a film that I think checks off both the heart and the mind argument that we talk about in the Best Picture. And I think it works here in screenplay as well. I think that this is not Homer's Odyssey. I think the reason why this is working for so many people at large is because it's Nolan's Odyssey. It's the changes that he brings to the story. It's what an adaptation is all about. I think that the reason why we all knew the story of the Odyssey, but we didn't love the story of the Odyssey, is how we had to read it in school, and how, oh, it's this, it's that, it's that. I wish it could have this, it could have that, it have that. And I feel like what we're seeing from the majority of people at large that are not the epic, you have to adapt from the page to the screen exact type of people are saying, I like these changes for the better, because they sometimes make you laugh. They make you angry. They invoke all these feelings out of you as you're watching the film. And I just feel like Nolan's adaptation here in the adapted screenplay category has it. Checks off these boxes. It has the heart. There's people saying they are crying, they are sobbing in different moments of this adaptation of the Odyssey. No one's saying they're sobbing at Gladiator. They're saying, ooh, action, let's go. At Braveheart, people aren't laughing at some of the dialogue and the jokes. And I think the changes that he's making from Homer's epic are, for the most part, universally respected, approved, and thought of for the better. And I think that's what makes a great adaptation. I get this film did not win screenplay, but I feel like this is very similar to the adaptation argument that we had for something like Zone of Interest a few years ago, where it's like, it's not the source, it's something completely different, recontextualizing it that is working for more people at large. And I think comparing it to something like I said earlier in this episode for Sinners, I think it's going to be one of these films that every branch wants to get a piece of the pie, and they want to vote for it, and they want to vote for the strongest film, the film that they like most inside this competition, inside this specific category. And I think at the moment, the Odyssey looks like that. And I know you won't like my answer, but if it's not the Odyssey, I don't think it's La Bola Negra.
Man, I'm just... I hope you're wrong on this one. I hope you're wrong, because, like, the screenplay is not my favorite part of that movie. It's beautifully directed. I'll shut my mouth. I'll shut my mouth on
well,
that.
But let me give you the reason for why, if it's not the Odyssey, it's something else. Because this screenplay category, and for this specific movie, has been the vein of my award season predictions all year long. Kicking off in the video that we got to record together in your living room. I think it's the room that you're at right now, right? Or are you in your room?
It is.
Yeah.
Because my bedroom is full of moving boxes, because I just moved the rest of my life to New York from Toronto. So I got no room in there right now.
Because when we recorded, I didn't have room for the invite and Best Picture because I didn't know what to remove from Adapted. Almost instantly after our video, I found that space because Fatherland moved to Original. Now we know it's not a real contender at all. Buy a little bit too much into the cheese there, but like at that time, there was insanely great buzz for Cliff Booth, and it seemed destined to go to the Venice Film Festival after a cut was shown internally. We had discussed other possible contenders that had been inside the race, including stuff that we currently have predicted right now. And the invite had to settle at that number 6 slot. But that mistake is no more. The invite is not just in my lineup, it's at my number 2. And I think the love that we've seen so far from the movie online, the discussions around this film so far, and how we've heard there's already been screens of WGA FYC events that have been off the charts and people loving them. They're loving the Q&As. They're loving to hear Will McCormick and Rashida Jones out there. Even though Olivia Wilde isn't a writer, they're loving her involvement with the film as well. This is a fun film. It packs the heart. It's dynamic with its presence. And this feels like what, I guess to your argument before, what a screenplay winner should kind of be like. It's not the epic grand action film that may pack heart as well. It's the film that has a million words a minute that's checking what you would want in terms of all the different boxes of what historically the screenplay winner does look like. And it's a fresh adaptation, taking something that while I haven't seen any of the other films that this source material has been based off of. It has been based off a lot of stuff, and usually people are like, oh, it doesn't work, it's not as good. And I mean, The Invite is super strong, and I think that we're seeing this going to cement itself inside the adapted screenplay lineup, inside multiple acting categories, inside maybe director, and then picture. And I think that this is what we're seeing with Train Dreams last year, where at Sundance, no one took Train Dreams serious, including myself, and no one took it for real until the critic group started coming in, and it gave it cinematography prize after cinematography prize after cinematography prize, and it was arguably the number 3 in best cinematography at the Oscars. And I mean, I think we're going to see critics groups go invite at the start of the season, cement itself in the race, not just in adapted, not just in picture, but to be number 2 inside the lineup. No, I'll stop.
This year might kill me, Dylan. I love this movie. I love this movie. It's just so funny. I feel like every year we have our movies we like disagree on their awards chances, and I don't think we've ever been as far off of each other as we have this year. I do have The Invite getting nominated. I don't feel very strongly about it. I think it's so much more of a director movie than a screenplay movie. Even though I have it for screenplay and not for director, I just feel like, I don't know, at that Q&A, literally they were talking about all of my favorite parts in the movie, and they were like, oh yeah, that was improvised. Oh yeah, Hawk's monologue was improvised. Oh yeah, we let every single actor rename their characters and come up with elaborate backstories and then change the script. Oh yeah, that moment with that great joke, that was just Edward Norton riffing. Oh, that moment, like, there's so much in the script that is just not the script. And sure, the script seems like a great foundation, but yeah, I feel like already everything that they're talking about is just like, look at how much the actors changed the material. And to me, that's a knock against it for a win, although it definitely is far more of a winning type movie than The Odyssey. But like I've said a million times, I see this as the Big Sick. I think it is a at max 1 acting and screenplay nomination. Big Sick did not get its acting nomination. It was just a lone screenplay, but Holly Hunter almost got the nomination. And I do think that we will get at least 1 nomination somewhere, whether it's Olivia Wilde or Edward Norton. I don't think it'll be Penelope Cruz, but I do think Edward Norton is the most likely player we've got for a nomination. But again, I just don't see this movie being strong enough in January and February to be a winner. I think that so many A24 films are going to come and are going to surpass it and sort of eclipse what the film is. So instead, as my 2 and 3, because I do have Odyssey and Invite as 4 and 5, my 2 and 3 are currently Ink and Project Hail Mary. Project Hail Mary I had clung to for a long time as my winner because it did sort of feel like the type of movie that wins, just because it's sort of balancing the emotion, it's balancing the spectacle, and it's balancing the humor throughout. It's the type of thing where, like, that's the kind of movie that does oftentimes win here. Something that's sort of quirky and unique, and yet still brings the spectacle along with it. Also, Ink, based on a major play that was highly, highly regarded, that won a bunch of Tony Awards, and taking it and adapting it to be very cinematic. They've added characters. It seems like they've changed a ton of things about it, so that really the only thing that is it seems like they're going to take some of the dialogue and reinvent everything else with the film. So to me, Ink feels like, if it is a picture player, if it is in those acting categories, you got to put it in adapted screenplay. Project Hail Mary, I'm going to cling to forever because, if this isn't a screenplay movie, then it's nothing. It's nothing at all. And yeah, again, Odyssey and Invite I've got in my top 5, but I don't feel as strongly about them as writing movies as I know you do. I'll also give a shout out to Social Reckoning, which Sorkin movies often get screenplay, but they don't always need screenplay. You know, we've had films of his which get acting nominations and not screenplay. Think Steve Jobs, think Being the Ricardos. And this one, I currently just have it getting um, Jeremy Strong as Mark Zuckerberg as a supporting actor nomination. I have that as its one and only nomination, but I think screenplay is just on the edge. And if something really, really flops, then this could break into the race and will likely be WGA nomination and a few nominations other places. And All of a Sudden is another one. If this makes a massive surge in the Best Picture race, if it becomes Neon's number one dog, I would definitely put it into my top 5 here and probably boot out the invite.
I am there with you in terms of La Bola Negra being in for the nomination. The reason why I have it at 3, not 2, not one like you, is the fact that it's not in English. And I mean, Anatomy won original. That film's half in English. Parasite won original. Parasite's also a once-in-a-decade type Best Picture winner. And the reaction, I can't just not tell me that this movie is like that. But I'm super excited to see it for myself. I'm excited to see how the movie continues to have reactions at the fall film festivals. It's going to TIFF. I'm assuming it's going to Telluride. I don't think it's at NIF, so we won't get to see it there. But it will be going to theaters for a while before it hits Netflix. I'm very interested to see how more and more people react to this film, because I know that you really like it. I know a lot of people in our community liked it. I also know there were grids that weren't as high on it, and
Highbrows hate it. Yeah, highbrows hate it. The reason it's not going to New York is that the people that run that festival absolutely detest the movie. Dennis Lim, who runs the festival, he said that La Bola Negra was in the bottom 3 films that he watched at Cannes this year.
And I think that's a part of the reason why I've been a little bit lower on the film, because I think, especially for what we've seen historically for these international films that overperform in terms of wins, they usually take that fan base or that portion of the voting body and run with it. And this film is kind of not like Amelia Perez, but the opposite of that, where Amelia Perez is going for the other side of stuff. Obviously, I don't think the Javis are going to get canceled and get lots of riled up behind them. But I think that that's part of the reason why I think the film will come up short in a lot of these categories where I know we disagree with. But I do have it in for the nomination. I have no concerns about this nomination over here in Adapted. I still have Project Hail Mary in here as well. While I haven't read the novel, it seems like people have kind of the opposite issue as they do with the Odyssey. It's too faithful. It's the page to the screen, and not much has changed. I don't think that will hurt it as long as the movie remains strong like it is right now. But if it gets pushed out due to more competition, maybe that could be part of the reason why it misses out at the end of the day. I don't really want to put Dune Part 3 in. Part 1 got in. Part 2 missed. Denis probably changing a lot, but will it be changes for the better? Will it be changes people have lots of issues with? I'm not sure. He changed stuff for Part 2 and it missed out. Very strong year as well. And then, like, Cliff Booth has moved off of my top 5. I'm not confident this is coming out this year whatsoever, so it's been removed from all my categories. It's kind of placement in my rankings wherever it is going forward until we have confirmations this year. Kind of signifies the stuff I believe in and the stuff I don't as much believe in. And like, I do agree with you. Ink makes total sense. I have it out because Social Reckoning feels like it makes more sense as the film that we get in Screenplay every year that does not make the Best Picture. As you mentioned, Aaron Sorkin, he's great at getting either acting or screenplay. He doesn't get both unless they're Best Picture nominees. I don't have this in screenplay. I don't have this in picture. I just took Jeremy Strong out of supporting actor in our last video. So let's bring it into screenplay over here to keep the trend running where he gets one or the other, but not both unless they're a Best Picture nominee.
This is wild. This is wild. Anyways, though, this is, I believe, the end of our video. We've talked about 4 categories now, and we have agreed on 0 of them.
Yeah, do we have any of the...
No, we agreed. We agreed Christopher Nolan's winning Best Director.
We share a director winner. That's about where it ends. But it made this far in the video. I think this might be our longest predictions in this cycle of ones. You want to subscribe because we will be doing below the line tech nominations before we hit the fall film festivals. And that'll be our last one because then we'll have our fantasy film ball draft for this year. And then Venice and TIFF will begin. And we'll probably wait to do an update until at least one of, if not both of those festivals conclude.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I think probably the next picture update we'll have will be after the Golden Lion and maybe the People's Choice Award have been revealed. But Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you like what you see, drop a subscription. If you made it this far, you probably already are subscribed. If you're not, what are you doing? Hit that button. Thank you so much for watching. As always, my name's Matt.
My name's Dill, and this has been Fantasy Film Ball.